I've worked hard for 17 years to support my family, only to discover my wife's betrayal and that some of my kids aren't mine. I honestly don't understand what the big deal is. I mean, yes, I've been a stay-at-home mom for the past 17 years, but it's not like I've been sitting around doing nothing. My name is Jessica. I'm in my mid-30s, and I've been with my husband Mark since we were teenagers. People are acting like I'm some kind of villain, but they don't understand the whole story. Mark works this physically demanding job, comes home exhausted, and honestly, I think he forgets that being a mom is work too. Sure, I don't bring in a paycheck, but I take care of the house and the kids. Well, some of the house stuff. Mark handles a lot of it because he's particular about how things are done. The dogs, they don't really like me. And honestly, the feeling is mutual. Mark got this German Shepherd for his birthday. And then I thought it might be lonely. So I got it a German Shepherd Malinois mix. Big mistake. Those dogs are high energy and require so much attention. Mark's obsessed with them, making these special meals and buying all these puzzle toys. It's ridiculous. So when I told Mark I wanted to go on a 2-week vacation with my friends, I didn't think it would be such a big deal. I'm tired all the time, and I need a break. The kids are older now. Our oldest is 16, and the youngest is 6. They're pretty self-sufficient, but Mark had this weekend planned with his brother, who lives far away, and he refused to cancel it. We had this huge argument, and honestly, some unkind things were said on both sides. I told him he needed to help out more around the house, and he made some comment about how he works hard to support this family, which, okay, yes, he does, but that doesn't mean I don't deserve a break too. I haven't had a proper vacation in years, just some weekend trips here and there. 2 weeks with my friends sounded like heaven. But Mark wouldn't budge, and now everyone's acting like I'm the bad guy for wanting some time to myself. Things got worse after that argument. Mark took a day off work, which was weird because he never takes days off. When I came downstairs around 11:45, I was shocked to see him home. He said he wasn't feeling well, but honestly, he didn't look that sick to me. I asked what was wrong and if I could get him anything, but then my phone rang. So I went into the kitchen to take the call. When I came back, I suggested we go out for lunch or maybe go shopping. I could get my nails done while we were out. But Mark just kept saying no. He wanted to stay home. The dogs were sitting by the freezer waiting for their special lunch. So I asked Mark to get it, but he refused. Can you believe that? He was sitting right there, but he wouldn't even feed the dogs he loves so much. I had to do it myself. I tried to get him to go out with me, but he kept refusing, saying we needed to talk. I told him we would talk later, but I was already dressed and ready to go. So I left. I figured we could talk when I got back. When I returned home around 8:00 p.m., the first thing I asked was where dinner was. Mark said he and the kids had already eaten, and I'd have to make something for myself. I told him I couldn't cook, and he said I was perfectly capable of making something. Excuse me, I haven't cooked regularly in years. Mark always handles dinner because he's picky about how things are prepared. I ended up going out and getting McDonald's, which set the younger kids off because they wanted ice cream too. I told them Daddy said I couldn't bring them any, which wasn't exactly true. But I wasn't about to buy ice cream for 4 kids. Later that night, Mark tried to talk to me about our trips again. I asked if he'd rescheduled with his brother, and he said no. He wouldn't be canceling. He tried to have this whole conversation about how our duties were uneven, and he wanted me to take on more responsibilities. I told him I do enough around here, but he insisted I make a list. So I wrote down laundry, feeding the dogs, making doctor's appointments, and grocery shopping. Then he pulls out this huge list of everything he does, which was ridiculous. He includes things like creating the dogs' meals. I just give them the food. I don't need to create it. And he folds and distributes the laundry. Big deal. I do the actual washing. He takes kids to doctor appointments. So what? I'm the one who schedules them. And the groceries? I order them through an app. He just puts them away. I got up to leave because I was getting angry, and he followed me upstairs. I was on the phone with a friend, and when he came into the room, I told him to leave and sleep on the couch. He refused. So I tried to physically drag him out, which resulted in a fight. He ended up sleeping on the couch, probably to avoid waking the kids. The next few days were tense. Mark stopped folding and putting away my laundry, and he told me I had to make my own meals. Petty. Right. Our oldest son started acting distant with me, probably because he heard us arguing. He even asked Mark if he loved him, which broke my heart. Thursday night, I asked Mark if we could have a drink since he was leaving to see his brother the next day. He had one drink and then passed out. I tried to initiate sex, but he wasn't in the mood. The next morning, I left for my trip. Mark texted and called, but I just sent a quick text saying, "We'd talk when I got back." I needed this vacation, and I wasn't going to let him guilt trip me out of it. While I was on vacation, I tried not to think about what was happening at home. I deserved this break. Mark had been working my last nerve for months, always complaining about how much he does around the house. Hello. I'm the one who's been raising our 4 kids for the past 17 years. That's work too, you know. I spent time with my friends, relaxing by the pool, going to nice restaurants. It was exactly what I needed. Of course, Mark had left some cash in our bank account, but had moved most of the money to another account. Typical, but I had my own money saved up, so I wasn't worried. My friends asked about Mark, and I just told them he was being difficult about me taking time for myself. They all agreed that I deserved this vacation and that men can be so selfish sometimes. What they don't know is that I have an OnlyFans account that's been bringing in quite a bit of money. Mark would lose his mind if he found out. He's so traditional and would probably see it as some kind of betrayal. But it's not like I'm meeting anyone from there. It's just pictures and videos. And it's helped me feel more confident in myself after having 4 kids. Plus, the money has been nice to have for myself. Mark controls all the finances in our house, and I have to ask for money for everything. It's demeaning. I was about halfway through my vacation when I got a call from my sister-in-law. Apparently, Mark had a heart attack. I couldn't believe it. He's only in his 30s. She said my brother-in-law had called an ambulance and that Mark was in the hospital. I cut my vacation short and flew home immediately. When I got to the hospital, Mark's family was there, and they were all giving me these dirty looks. I tried to find out what happened, but no one would really talk to me. Finally, my brother-in-law pulled me aside and told me that Mark had found out about the OnlyFans account. Our oldest son had walked in on me making content in the living room before I left for my trip. I had told him that Mark wasn't making enough money and that I had to do this to help support our family. I also told him not to tell Mark because it would ruin our marriage. Apparently, the kid told his uncle instead, who then told Mark, but that's not even the worst part. Mark had decided to get DNA tests done on the kids. And guess what? Our 3 daughters aren't biologically his. Only our oldest son is on. I don't know what he expected to find out, but he obviously wasn't prepared for that news. The atmosphere in the hospital was tense, to say the least. My mother-in-law kept giving me these looks that could kill, and my father-in-law wouldn't even speak to me. Mark was awake but weak, and when he saw me, he just turned his head away. I tried to explain, to tell him that I love him and that our family is what matters, not biology. But he wouldn't listen. My sister-in-law finally told me that it would be best if I left, that Mark needed to rest. I could tell this was just an excuse to get me out of there. When I got home, the house was empty. The kids were with Mark's family, and I was alone. I tried to call my children, but no one would answer my calls. I felt so isolated and betrayed. Yes, I made mistakes, but they were treating me like I was some kind of monster. I was the victim here too. Mark had been emotionally neglectful for years, always working, always tired, never really present for me or the kids. I was lonely. And the OnlyFans account made me feel desired and appreciated. And as for the children not being his biologically well, that just happened. It's not like I planned it. Things happen in a marriage, especially one as long as ours. I still love Mark, and I love our children. That should be what matters. A few days later, I came home to find my mother-in-law and one of my sisters-in-law clearing out my hobby space. They were turning it into some kind of office den for Mark. I couldn't believe it. This was my space, my sanctuary. I confronted them, But my mother-in-law just looked at me with this disappointed expression and said that Mark needed a quiet place to recover and that he would be working from home for a while. She didn't even have the decency to be angry with me. She was just disappointed, which somehow felt worse. My sister-in-law wouldn't even make eye contact with me. They were treating me like I was already gone, like I wasn't part of this family anymore. I tried to call my children again, and this time, my oldest daughter answered. She asked me why I lied to them, why I cheated on their father. I tried to explain, but she just hung up on me. I could hear my mother-in-law in the background telling her not to talk to me. I felt like my whole world was falling apart. Mark finally came home from the hospital, and he served me with divorce papers. He had already talked to a lawyer, and he wanted me out of the house. I tried to argue that this was our family home, that the children needed me here, but he wouldn't hear it. His father had apparently helped him find a place for me to rent, and they wanted me out as soon as possible. I couldn't believe how quickly everything was happening. We had been together for 17 years, and he was just throwing me away like I meant nothing to him. I tried to talk to our children, but the older ones wanted nothing to do with me. They knew about the DNA tests, and they saw me as a liar and a cheater. The younger ones didn't really understand what was happening, but they could feel the tension in the house. I tried to explain to them that Mommy and Daddy were having some problems, but that I still loved them very much. My youngest daughter started crying, asking if I was going to leave like her friend's mommy did. It broke my heart. Moving out was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Mark's family helped him pack up my things, and they watched me like I was some kind of criminal as I loaded them into my car. My children didn't even say goodbye. They stood there with their father, looking at me with these sad, confused expressions. My oldest son wouldn't even look at me. I tried to tell them I would see them soon, that we would work everything out, but no one responded. As I drove away from the house that had been my home for so many years, I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal. How could Mark do this to me after everything I had given him 4 children? 17 years of my life, he was just throwing it all away because of a few mistakes. Yes, I had an OnlyFans account, and yes, our daughters weren't biologically his. But that didn't change the fact that we were a family. I still loved him, and I still loved our children. But as I settled into my small, empty rental apartment, I realized that I might have lost everything. My family, my home, my reputation all gone. And the worst part was, I couldn't even really blame anyone but myself.